So let's talk about halftones and gradients to create color blends. So as you know, when you're doing a screen, everything has to be a solid color. So these gradients are a no-go. You cannot recreate a gradient using a screen. You need solid colors. So the first way you can do that is by create. Well, the first way you can do that is create a halftone. I'm going to show you three different methods. First way I do not like, so I almost don't even count this method. But you can see that it's the easiest because I've got this gradient, and I go to select gradient, go to effects, pixelate, color halftone. I set all the channels to be the same angle, and the size of the pixel, the size of the dot that I want. I click OK. Now, what I like about this way is that I can edit it very easily, but what I don't like about it is invariably I'm going to have a area that is not the color that I really want to use. I don't really want anything to be white. So this is not a method that I really like to use. So let's go on to the second method. Now, the second method works very well, but it takes a little bit of time. And so we're going to go over it, but I'm not going to say it's my favorite. So to start off with, instead of having one shape with a gradient, I actually need three shapes. The first shape, instead of having a gradient, we're going to change it to a solid color. Let's change it to the solid color yellow. Second shape, we're going to change the solid color, and we're going to do green. And the third shape, we're going to keep it having a gradient, but instead of it being a gradient that goes from yellow to green, it's going to be a gradient just a standard gradient that goes from black to white. There's one of those right here in gradient panel. That is weird. Let's see. That one's white, excellent. And that one is black, excellent. I'm not sure why it's not appearing that way in my preview. I do know why it's not preview. I've still got my overprint preview, so I'm going to turn that off for a second. I had my overprint preview on, and I was only showing the colors, the spot colors. Okay, sorry about that. So now that my overprint preview is off, you see that now it's going from black to white. So then I stack the one that is the gradient from black to white on top of, I'm going to apply that same color halftone to this one that is black and white. So I'm going to Effects, Pixelate, Color Halftone. I'm going to use the exact same settings, but this time I'm going to apply a transparency mask. So I'm going to put this over the green and then select both of them at the same time, and then go to my transparency panel and make a mask. So now, as you can see, the green, the only part that is visible are the parts that were white, and everything that's black becomes invisible. Got this facing the wrong direction, so let me just turn it around. And then I just put it on top. And now we have that same type of halftone pattern, but you notice that now I don't have that white underneath or in it. It all is just the two colors that I want to use. I really like this method. If I want to adjust the way this gradient is, I got to make sure in my transparency panel that I'm not selecting the green shape. I'm selecting the shape with the gradient, and then I can go to my gradient tool and adjust how that gradient is being used. I like that this way. a whole lot. But like I said, there is one way that I like, that I found that I like even better. Um, Actually, let's talk about what I don't like about this. One is it's two shapes. They're combined together, but changing them is, I use the transparency panel and not the appearance panel, which is okay. But and the other thing that I really don't like about this way, I'll have to show you in the separations preview. So I'm going to again turn off CMYK. I'm going to turn off the green for a second. And you see the yellow goes underneath, and then the green goes on top. Now, what I don't like about this is because there's no actual overlap between these colors. You can see that one is they exactly match. When the registration for this, when it actually gets printed, has to be perfect. Otherwise, you're going to see a little bit of a halo effect where these don't quite match up. You'll be able to tell if there's any registration errors on the two colors that they're printing, which I do not like. Even though as a designer, that's not something that I'm going to be doing. It's something that I'm going to think about for the printer to make their job easier. So the next method that I'm going to show you does not have that same issue. So on this one, I'm going to get, again, it's going to be somewhat similar to this method. So, but I'm using, everything's going to be done using the appearance panel. So we're going to turn back on normal view mode. For some reason this is kind of paused on me, so I'm just going to open and close it. Wasn't letting me select it. There we go. So with the appearance panel, we're going to start off kind of similar to what we did before. So so we're going to add another color. So add another fill. One of the bottom fill is going to be yellow, but the top fill, instead of going from yellow to green, it's just going to go, we're going to change what color is being used. So this is going to go to white. And now I'm going to apply the same effect, the color halftone, pixelate color halftone, just to the top fill. So I've got my color halftone, but the problem is I can't see what's underneath it. But this is white, so if I change the opacity in the blending mode to multiply, the white will become invisible, and now I can see what's underneath it. Now what I like about this method, and we're going to go back to kind of show you, when I hide the green, this is a solid block, and then the green comes on top of it, which means it's not going to be the same type of errors, registration problems. Now the key to this is that the darker color has to be on top. Because a darker color printing on top of a bright color will cover it up. The same is not true the other way around. A brighter color printing on top of a dark color may not even show up. So when you're using this method, you have to make sure that the one color is darker than the other. If I was trying to use two colors that were about the same brightness, I might choose maybe green and red. I would probably go back to this method up here. But because green and yellow, green is inherently darker than yellow, this method is my preferred method because it will be easier on the printer. Let's look at some other options on how we can use this method. So I'm going to turn off this color halftone, and I'm going to do another type of, let's see, pixelate. This time I'm going to choose mezzotint. And this allows me, and there's several options in mezzotint. You can kind of scroll through and see which one you like the best. But this would also screen print very nicely. And as I zoom in, you see that everything is still just solid colors. So I've gone over mezzotint. Let's look at another one. So let's go to effects, pixelate. Let's try pointillize. I don't think this one's going to be very successful, but I will try it. No, this is not. As you can see, these are not solid colors. So pointillize does not want right. There was one more that I found that I really like. I think it was under the effects gallery. And let's see. No, so graphic pen is very similar to the ones we've already seen. I think if we go to under halftone pattern and we change the pattern type to circles, this is going to look a little bit different. Okay. Now what I don't like about this is that the gradient doesn't end where it's not a smooth transition. It's a very hard transition, which I do not like. There's not an easy way to get rid of that. As I make sure this, and it even becomes worse when I apply it directly to the fill. You can see when I have it applied to everything, it kind of works, but it's kind of rough. So that's not my favorite way of getting. If I want that circular ring pattern, I kind of have to do this the slowest method of all. So I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna kind of just showcase you, because I've showcased to you how I've done that. So here you see that I've done that method, and I'm just gonna go over how I did that, and it's just done with rings. So I did one circle. Actually, let's start off by making another copy of this rectangle. I'm going to get rid of this gradient fill. Start off by making a very small circle. And then make another one, but to this one I am not going to have it have any fill. It's just going to have a stroke, and then take another one, and this is where it's going to end. I'm actually going to try something that I haven't. I'm going to blend between these two shapes by going to either using the blend tool and clicking on one and clicking on the other. Sorry, selected the wrong one. So I'm going to use the blend tool. And then we're going to decide on how many we want in between. Right now there's just one. If I double click on the tool, I'm going to increase this until there are lots of different lines in between. Now the problem right now is that there is no difference. All the lines, they are getting bigger. They're going in, but the thickness isn't changing. So how do I get that thickness to change? I'm just going to select the very outside one, make it as thin as I can. So I'm going to just type in 0.1, very small. And then I'm going to select the one on the inside. And this one, I'm going to start to increase the thickness. Until I like it. Great. So now I just want this to be inside this yellow rectangle. So I'm going to select this whole group. Make sure that all three pieces are grouped together. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to use my draw inside and paste it right where it was copied. Paste in place. I don't need this one anymore. So it's kind of my third option. This is kind of my extra option. What I don't like about this last method that I showed you is it takes a long time. You saw that it took probably 4 times as long. But if you want that ring instead of having either, that's one of the ways you can create it. But I'm going to show you kind of the 3 that are my favorite 3 ways. Kind of turn off. These are my 3 favorite ways, and each way has kind of a different look. This is probably my least favorite. I like the look of this one just as much, but it's my least favorite way of doing it because it takes so much more time.